This video is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com and GatheringMagic.com, your place to explore the game.
Hi, my name is Shaun, and this is my Grenzo Dungeon Warden deck. Alright everybody, it's been a while, but a few months anyway, but here's my newest build, and this is Grenzo Dungeon Warden. So Grenzo is a 2/2, and he basically is red, black, and X. And Grenzo Dungeon Warden enters the battlefield with X/1/1 counters on it. So whatever you pay for X, I usually I try to get about 6 in there, because that'll pretty much get this next part of it. So if I pay 2, I can put the bottom card of my library into my graveyard. If it's a creature card with power less than or equal to Grenzo's power, put it onto the battlefield. So the biggest problem for Grenzo is Rest in Peace and Anafenza kind of shenanigans. I got a few cards to try and deal with that mechanic, but my biggest suggestion is if you're playing against a deck like that, pick a different deck. Just go get a different deck, because your deck is... This will kind of work without Grenzo, but anytime stuff goes to the graveyard, that's brutal. Anyway, this is a prison-themed deck. That's one more thing I wanted to mention before we move on. This is a prison-themed deck, so anything that would have landed you in prison or in a dungeon or the court system or actually being there, that's kind of supposed to feel like that. I kind of stretched on a few things. Some things I just let go and I didn't stay on theme, but for the most part I tried to stay on theme. Anyway, let's get into the deck, and so I can show you what I did here with Grenzo. Okay, so here we go. Alright, so I got seven mountains here, and seven swamps. Alright. Color fixing. Bloodstained Mire. Akoum Refuge. Tainted Peak. Blackcleave Cliffs. Blood Crypt. It is a mountain and a swamp. Command Tower. Sulfurous Springs. Cool looking demon and a tar pit. Dragonskull Summit. Love these lands. Oh. Auntie's Hovel. This is not a goblin themed deck. This is a prison themed deck. However, there are a few goblins in here, so this might end up getting some synergy if I need it. Reflecting Pool. Making a mess. Alright. Badlands, Swamp, and a Mountain. Graven Cairns. Urborg Volcano. Temple of Malice. Get that scry set up the bottom of our decks. What that we want to do with Grenzo. Rakdos Guildgate. Bloodfell Caves. Buried Ruin. So we're getting into our utility here. So Buried Ruin is going to let us get some artifacts back. We got a few artifacts in the deck. Rogue's Passage. Make a creature unblockable like Grenzo or whatever. Some of our villains. Opal Palace. Good for counters on Grenzo. Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. Everything's a swamp. Cabal Coffers. There's the combo that I never run in any of my decks except for this one. Bojuka Bog. Exile a graveyard. Phyrexian Tower, sack outlet. Alright, creatures. Viscera Seer, nice little sacrifice a creature, allows us to set up the bottom of our deck. This deck is about setting up the bottom of the deck. Alright, we got Blood Artist, so whenever Blood Artist or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Stuff's going to be dying. Alright. Anathomancer, this is nice non-basic land hate, so whenever it comes into play, it deals damage to target player equal to the number of non-basic lands that player controls. And then I can unearth it if I need to, so I can let it sit in the graveyard for a while and come back and hit somebody with it. I need an Executioner for my prison, so here's my Executioner, and when it enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature. Matron in the prison world is a female prison warden. So here's Goblin Matron. This is just going to let me go and get Grenzo or some of my other goblins if I need them. Royal Assassin. Yep, he's a assassin's bad guy, right? I don't know. Kill some creatures. Feldon doesn't. I don't know. I guess he's in here because he's doing weird artificy things with what was his former wife. So I don't know. He's messing around with robots. Anyway, he is good for recursion, so that's why I put him in there. I don't know that he fits theme. Mindless Automaton. What prison isn't complete without a mindless robot running around? This one's really nice because it allows you to discard some cards into your graveyard for some of the setup cards later, and you can remove counters to draw cards. So it's pretty good. Nice little setup card there. Erebos, God of the Dead, self-proclaimed God of the Dead. More card draw. Abyssal Persecutor. You can't win the game, but you'll probably sack him before then. This is really nice. 6/6 flying trample for 4. And Persecutor fits on the theme. Canal Dredger. I need somebody to dig me out of prison, so here's my Canal Dredger. And the nice thing is I can put a target card from my graveyard on the bottom of my library. So some of the setup stuff that I was talking about a little bit ago. Crypt Ghast, Extort, and whenever you tap a swamp for mana, add black to your mana pool. So just more of this mana generation. I want to generate as much mana as I possibly can. Filth has a nice feel to it. A dungeon is pretty filthy, so this gives all my creatures Swamp Walk as long as it's in my graveyard. Tuktuk Scrapper. He was scrapping stuff, and now he is in prison for it. But anyway, he allows me to kill an artifact. Murderous Redcap. The name is pretty self-explanatory. I think there's some jinkiness in this deck that could potentially go off with this guy. I haven't seen it yet because I've only tested the deck a couple times, but he's a goblin too. Anger, everything has haste. I love it. Everything on my side of the board has haste, as long as it's in the graveyard. And anger is a good reason that you would end up imprisoned. I need a mob boss, so here's my mob boss, Krenko. Master of Cruelties. I think he's in here strictly just for the name, but I could probably get some shenanigans where Swamp Walk and, I don't know, living the dream kind of stuff here with Master of Cruelties. Heartless Hidetsugu. He's a heartless guy, and he's going to make everybody lose lots of life really fast. Urabrask the Hidden. Praetors in Roman times were people that oversaw the law, and so I put this Praetor in here. So creatures you control have haste, and creatures your opponent controls, and in a battlefield tapped. Gotta have our gangs, so here's our Siege Gang Commander, Goblin. And our Scourges. Scourge of Gear Reach. So Scourge of Gear Reach Gets 1/1 for each creature your opponents control. So if somebody's playing tokens, that guy gets pretty big. With Swamp Walk, he's pretty awesome. Gary, so every dungeon needs a guy who knows how to get things. That's a little Shawshank kick there. So Gary is that guy. And hopefully it's life for us and death for other people. Flare of the Hatebound. This card is so good in this deck. Anything that comes out of the graveyard is going to end up burning stuff, and it's just this card's really good, and it has Undying. Nicholas Unshackled. So Ob is unshackled, and it has a prison feel to it. Micaeus the Unhallowed, again, it's just kind of a name thing. He seems like a bad guy, but whatever. He gives other non-human creatures I control 1/1 and Undying when they come back into play, and if any time a human deals damage to me, I destroy it, and it has an Intimidate. So Micaeus is pretty good. Harvester of Souls. He's in here because of the line. Actually, his text down here. So it says, he is the judge, jury, and executioner because he killed them all. And he has Death Touch, and whenever a non-token creature dies, you may draw a card. Scourge of the Throne. So I got a second Scourge in here. This card is so flipping good. It wrecks. This card just wrecks. It is a really good card. If you haven't got a chance, go and pick one up now. I know that they're going up in price. So, Viscera the Dreadful. So she is a flyer, and I can tap her and destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. So Royal Assassin, kind of. Only just for destroying creatures. They don't have to be tapped. Let me adjust this real quick here. Okay. Pontefract Blight. Other creatures you control have Extort. Extort seems like a prison-worthy mechanic. Extortion. Kokusho, the Evening Star. Kokusho is currently out on parole from per the Commander Rules Committee. So he is allowed currently in Commander for the time being, so he is in this deck. Karavek the Merciless. This card is so good politically. It's very, very good. Basically, somebody casts a spell, you can shoot that damage wherever you want to make friends and foes and all this other stuff. Very, very fun card. This actually was what I wanted to build my commander around before I found Grenzo. Alright. And Greater Gargadon. Greater Gargadon is supposed to be my dog for my dungeon or my prison. He's the dog holding the keys. So basically, I'm going to suspend this, and this gives me a sack outlet to kind of move things along, and it's pretty good. Right. Engineer Explosives. Our prisoners like to blow stuff up. And basically, this is in here for the stuff like Rest in Peace, where anything that goes into the graveyard, it gets exiled. I can't have that happening, so that's why Engineer Explosives is in here. But it seems to work against token strategies or whatever. I can kind of choose how to use it. Soul Ring. I don't know. This doesn't have anything to do with the prison. It's just mana ramp. Oops. Alright. My nose is all stuffed up. Sorry, guys. I'm like all stuffed up right now. Alright. Elixir of Immortality. This is my my dungeon booze, if you will, my toilet wine. So you gain 5 lives. Shuffle Elixir of Immortality in your graveyard in your library. If somebody tries to get rid of my graveyard, I can real quick keep my graveyard by putting it back in my library. Grim Monolith, some more mana kind of rampy business here. But the big part down here. It says part prison, part home. Cloak and Dagger. What prison isn't complete without a dagger? And this gives equipped creature 2/0 and Shroud. And whenever a rogue creature comes into play, you may attach Cloak and Dagger to it. Grenzo's a rogue, so that will hook up with him. This is kind of graveyard set up, my bottom of my library stuff. So Raid a Lantern. We're going to need a Lantern in our prison. Rakdos Signet. I don't know. I had Rakdos in here, and then I took him out. Mana Ramp. Darksteel Pendant, more library setup. Unstable Obelisk. This is just a way to get rid of problems like an Offensa or Rest in Peace. Ashnod's Altar. Gotta have a sacrificial altar, I guess. Or, I guess this is like my dungeon version of the electric chair right here. And a nice way to get mana if I need it. Crystal Ball. Gotta have some drugs rolling around my prison, so this is my crystal. Thran Dynamo. If I'm gonna have an electric chair in my prison, then this would be the electricity for it would be created here in my Thran Dynamo. Rakdos Charm. Just again, Rakdos was in here. This was supposed to be all themed around him, but I took Rakdos out, and maybe I'll put him back in. But anyway, there's just some really nice stuff on this that are really effective for the format. Terminate. I think it's nicely themed. Cast Warp has nothing to do with a prison at all. It's just a way to get rid of problem stuff that would keep my deck from working. Hero's Downfall. My bad guys went ahead and killed a hero, and so this is where that comes in. Vandal Blast. Yep, there were a bunch of vandals, and we're going around blowing up artifacts. Revive the Fallen. I'm surprised it took me this long to get to a clash card. So what do prisoners like to do? They like to clash. And here is a clash card that allows me to return target creature card from my graveyard to my hand. Diabolic Tutor. Or Diabolic Intent. Yep, prisoners have Diabolic Intent. So you sacrifice a creature and go find whatever you need in your deck. Demonic Tutor. I don't know. Messing around with demons, you ended up in a prison. Titan's Revenge. This is a pretty nice little card here. Titan's Revenge deals X damage to target creature or player. And then I clash with an opponent. If you win, return Titan's Revenge to his owner's hand. So I didn't talk about Clash before, but basically both players reveal the top card of their library. Whoever has the highest mana cost ends up winning. And then both players get to choose whether that card's going on top or on bottom. So if it's a creature card, I'm going to ship it to the bottom so that I can use Grenzo to activate to go ahead and get a creature in play. It's a nice setup card, and it does burn damage. Read the Bones, Scry 2, so set up and draw cards. Wheel of Fortune, this is just a nice way to get a whole new hand of cards if I need it. Or if I got creatures in my hand that I don't want to cast, I can put them in my graveyard and figure out different ways to cast them. Hoarder's Greed, another nice little clash card here. Mob Rule. So this got picked over Insurrection. Insurrection has to do with kind of prison, judicial system kind of stuff too. But this says Mob right on it, and I thought it had a nice feel. And it doesn't feel as cheap as Insurrection does. Braid of Fire. This has nothing to do with a prison, but it has everything to do with a Grenzo. This card is perfect for Grenzo. Mana ramp up the wazoo. And then we got Aggravated Assaults. You can't go to prison for Aggravated Assaults. But this, if you pay 5, untap all creatures you control after this phase, there's an additional combat phase, followed by an additional main phase. So if you have enough mana that you've been generating this whole time, you can just keep kicking them in the butt, you know. black market, gotta have a black market in our prison. So this is just more mana, you know. The more mana we have, the more activations we'll get off Grenzo, and the more kind of the potential to win and stuff like that. And my last card is Soren Markov. Soren Markov is the one who imprisoned the Eldrazi, one of the people that imprisoned the Eldrazi, and so he's in the deck, and this seems like a really nasty thing to do. Number 2 there. Anyway, thank you very much. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and favorite CMDR decks.